These people are bringing tens of thousands of larvae on their clothing into Texas whenever they go down to the riverbank and brush up against that carrizo cane, and all the property they go through, these larvae are dropped off. The larvae then get on a plant and then get on our white-tailed deer. Consequently, there's a tick zone that runs all the way from Del Rio to Brownsville, and the USDA and the Animal Health Commission have tick riders that try to catch this livestock coming across the river and get it caught. So people, though, are still coming, and there's been some properties that have come into quarantine miles off the river that even had high fences where the livestock and the deer could not infect it. That were affected because of the human trafficking and the people coming through bringing those larvae. So another disease, piroplasmosis, transmitted by a tick. We actually, I personally feel like that tick showed up, that infected tick showed up coming in on people's clothing out of Mexico. Hoof and mouth disease is on the horizon. A lot of these people are coming from countries that have hoof and mouth disease, and that would be devastating for the United States livestock industry if hoof and mouth disease shows up in the United States. And it's a big concern because a lot of these people that are sneaking in here could have that virus on their tennis shoes. That's a huge concern for us. It would be absolutely devastating to the United States agriculture industry if that disease shows up. And there's a multiplicity of other diseases. Swine flu can be transmitted from people to the swine industry. Most recent, within the past couple of years, there's been diseased animals come through our Trans-Pecos. Horses being brought in with piroplasmosis out of Mexico, and cattle being brought in to be sold at markets in Texas that are Mexican origin cattle that actually have brucellosis. That could affect our brucellosis-free status here in Texas down the road if it's not contained and stopped.
Yeah, and then the human side of it with scabies and TB.
A multiplicity of diseases, measles, chicken pox.
These women and children, given the vouchers, more or less released into our society, is they're not tested for TB before they're released into our society.
Once they get here, the amount of damage that they do.
Property damage is staggering, and if you'll look at the fences south of the checkpoint, there's a 12-mile stretch there where the ranchers along the highway cannot run cattle on their ranch because those fences are constantly being destroyed on a daily basis. And our perimeter fences around the rest of the ranch are constantly being compromised. Last week, the boys spent 2 days out here fixing 5 or 6 spots where the fences were either cut or torn down by large groups of people coming through. We have windmills in every pasture, and what they'll do, they'll come up and break the float off where the water will come out of the pipe coming straight out of the ground, and the water will be pumped out on the ground instead of the water holding trough, and with that it'll leave the pasture without water. It's a big problem. We have one windmill that usually averages damage at least once or twice a month.
And so ram and running is pretty common in this area.
Oh yeah, bailouts and running through the fences is an everyday occurrence, sometimes 7 or 8 or 10 times a day.
If there is a dead migrant on your land, would you just naturally look for vultures?
Usually it's the buzzards, the vultures. Half the time we see vultures, it could be an illegal alien that died on your property.
You see a lot of the tragic stories of the immigrants dying of dehydration, and they're next to a road. They could have gotten water.
One of the last deaths we've had on our property was, right there on the highway on our fence line, and they found her deceased there.
She died 5 feet from a crawl hole, 30 feet from the highway, so she almost made it. She had one sock on her foot, $3 in her pocket, and a little Spanish Bible, and that was it.
On the ground, the agents are frustrated. Morale is low. They don't like to see their work. When they've apprehended these people, they don't like to see them just released into our society. They want them deported as much as you and I. All these Border Patrol agents we know are dedicated, patriotic people. We depend on them to be able to live here. I mean, if we didn't have the Border Patrol here, we probably wouldn't be here. I mean, we absolutely depend on them for our safety here.
equip them with the proper equipment that they need, night vision equipment, the latest night vision equipment, more boots on the ground, we probably wouldn't be dealing with what we're dealing with right now, but that's not the case. That's not happening.
They had asked years ago for more help, and instead they were cut. And now all of a sudden the government's finding all this money to house these illegals and feed them and cater them when this could have been avoided.
The criminal element is still coming through, and there's a substantial amount of that traffic slipping through here, and we're experiencing it every day. We've had a lot of traffic this week. There's been a number of encounters with these guys. There's imminent danger out here. These people have criminal intent. It would be nothing for us to be killed and the house ransacked and vehicles stolen.
But there's only one way for this criminal element, the gang members, the young men that have been deported multi times, and this is their only route through. And this is what I'm seeing is all young males. I would say the last 50 or 60 illegal immigrants that I've seen out here have been 90%, 95% male.
A lot of these teenage boys coming from El Salvador and Guatemala, to be able to survive in Guatemala City, Guatemala, by the time they're 13 years old, if they're not a gang member, they don't live. And that's what we're experiencing here. And
they've murdered somebody.
Yeah, well, they've murdered somebody, or they had to be a gang member to be able to survive. We know for a fact that these gang members that are coyotes that lead the humans through here are ruthless and heartless, and if somebody gets cramped up, they walk off and leave them. They don't call 911 to give a location where this person is. They tell them they're going to die. Sometimes they abuse them, beat them up a little bit, slap them around, and then leave them, and that's usually where they die.
What advice would you give people visiting this area of Texas?
Well, everybody just knows that, you need to be very vigilant. You don't want to let any of these people get too close to you. You want to keep a distance. You want to keep a cell phone with you. And a lot of this country doesn't have cell phone service, but you definitely need to be armed. And your Second Amendment rights are very, very crucial to be able to live here. It's a way past time to stand up and secure the border. No question there's a huge criminal element coming in here, going to every city in the United States, even Washington, D.C. People from terrorist countries, countries that are deemed special interest countries, pouring in here undetected. It's time to step up and shut the border down. We can shut the border down in Afghanistan or Iraq. That's a big priority. Our biggest priority needs to be shut down the southwestern border.
This has made an awareness to the rest of the country, because now the rest of the country is getting these people shipped to their backyards. And, we've always said what's coming through our backyard is heading to their backyard.
Symbols are powerful, and the globalists have hijacked the symbols of America. They've turned them into their own symbols. Well, we are restoring the idea of the true republic, not the counterfeit globalist empire, by promoting the icon George Washington and others. That's why we're rolling out an 100% made in America line of incredible pro-liberty apparel. We are repopularizing liberty. We are helping fellow Americans rediscover what made this country great. We are the spirit of 1776. We are 1776 worldwide. We are all brothers and sisters in arms in the animating contest of liberty, in the long march towards humanity's ultimate destiny of freedom. Visit madein1776.com today and vote with your dollars to promote truly made in America, high quality products, and promote the ideals of liberty.